Bishop, and welcome back. Today I will be covering my first week for documenting and prototyping my final game type of Brethren Forsaken. My thought process when prototyping. When prototyping, I focused on ran through my thoughts, and what I focused on during week 1 was first tackling the basics, such as developing the environment, creating the landscape, and molding the terrain and biomes that would take place in the game that could further be developed upon and coincide with features and elements later in the game process. Some of these game elements that could later expand upon the base landscape and molding of the mesh and terrain are things such as characters designs, resource models, as well as different tools and weapons that are provided for the player. My methodology behind game designing is to formulate the narrative first, create a base narrative and storyline, and then expand upon the storyline later after the basic landscape is sketched out and the world atmosphere is created. I believe building upon the building blocks with the foundations for base terrain and world building is essential to start off your game project. After developing the concept for a game, it is essential to have the elements of the background of the game, as the serendipity of working with a vivid environment will naturally introduce new concepts and features. I also believe that it's important in the early stages of game design to play around with the software and spend some time just messing around and tweaking with different functions that are available and are at the disposal of the game creator. As understanding the software is essential when beginning to develop the basic elements and putting them into a project format on the software itself. Messing around with the software, as well as creating the base for the world, landscapes, and the world mesh and molding of the terrain and environment are the first pivotal steps that are essential in game creation. What did I work on during my first week of game prototyping? What I worked on this week in developing and further improving my game concepts is sketching out some of the landscapes, such as the abandoned house that you first start out at in the game, as well as creating resource models and designs such as for the machete, the lab experiment test results, a pouch for carrying resources and tools, a revolver, as well as creating the prototype design for a zombie cyborg model. This zombie cyborg model is unnerving and is supposed to bring unease to the player. Notice how in the top right, the zombie prototype cyborg model has two different types of formatted legs and arms. This is as I am still experimenting with the overall design. And I believe that lacking symmetry is part of this essential piece to suggesting that these decayed experiments were truly cruel experimentations and were made through trial and error of putting pieces together. Additionally, I began to format the upward hill that is located and isolated far from the remnants of civilization, where the main character Clayton Tanner will reside. Expanding upon the features that I already have had from weeks prior, such as the storyboard that takes place in the starting house, as well as the abandoned Western Saloon with abandoned carriages, as well as the archways to some of the town's plaza and center. There's also a local farm that I have sketched out as well, as you can see in the top middle in drawing. Additionally, I have messed around with the tools and resources that are available to me on Unity 2020, and I am beginning to understand some of the features and some of the tools that are available to me that involve landscaping and creating parts of the environment, as well as creating physical objects from resource packages such as a cactus or an abandoned house. My goals moving forward are to begin to sketch out the basement in the abandoned church that has the lab samples with the experiments, as well as beginning to put some of my concepts onto Unity themselves. Some of these concepts that I hope to implement and install on Unity are concepts such as the landscape as of the starter house, a cactus, as well as the beginnings of the desert terrain and biome. Thank you. That was my progress log for my final game project in regards to my game Brethren Forsaken. Thank you.